Welcome to the Curious Texan. This is a place where we ask questions, even the uncomfortable ones. And we don't just accept easy answers. Today we're talking about war. And it's not the kind you usually hear about. Not just strategy, not just politics, but the one thing that quietly decides how all of it ends. So let's start with what's happening right now. Iran has developed a class of drones, cheap, simple, and designed to be expendable. We're talking roughly $10,000 to $50,000 per drone. They're not fancy. They don't need to be. They fly, they find a target, and they explode. Now here's the problem. To stop them, countries often use advanced air defense systems, missiles that can cost anywhere from $1 to $4 million per shot. Let that sink in. You're spending millions of dollars to stop something that costs less than a used pickup truck. Even the cheaper defenses still cost more than the drone. So if I launch 10 drones at you, you might spend tens of millions stopping them. If I launch 100, now we're talking real money, a lot. This is what military analysts called cost imbalance, or more accurately, a losing equation. Because I don't have to win militarily. I just have to make you spend more than you can afford. Now here's where it gets interesting, because this idea is not new. History is full of empires that didn't collapse because they were weak. They collapsed because they were broke. Take the American Revolutionary War. It helped secure independence for the colonies. We won our independence, the United States did. But it also drove Britain deep into debt. Then you transition into the Napoleonic Wars. France built an incredible military machine. But the constant warfare drained the economy, and eventually it couldn't sustain itself. Then the big one, World War I. That's where things really change. Industrial warfare, mass production, mass destruction. The cost was so high that entire empires disappeared. They weren't weakened, they disappeared. Germany, Austria-Hungary, and the Ottoman Empire, all gone at the end of World War I. All. Not just defeated, but broken, bankrupted. Now let's go a few decades further to the Soviet Union. They tried to keep up with the United States militarily while fighting a long war in Afghanistan. Sound familiar? And eventually, they ran out of money. They ran out of runway. They couldn't sustain it. Different circumstances, same outcome. When the money runs out, so does the empire. So what's happening right now? Let's bring that forward to today. You've got tensions involving Israel, Iran, and the broader Gulf region. Countries with advanced militaries facing threats that are cheap, scalable, and constant. Drones, missiles, proxy forces. Now here's a real question. Is this being driven by one country? You have people that are saying, oh, it's Israel, or it's just us, or whatever. The answer is it's a combination. You have Israel. You also have the GCC, which is the Gulf Cooperation Council, which is consists of Bahrain, Kuwait, Oman, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE, the United Arab Emirates. You're talking about very, very, very rich countries in that region, And none of them like Iran. They would like Iran regime to go away. They won't say it publicly, but from what I can understand, they're behind this too. It's not just the Israelis. So Iran uses low-cost, asymmetric tactics, proxy groups, Hezbollah, and the like, drones, missiles. Now, Israel, the United States, and others, we rely on high-end defense systems. Highly effective, but very expensive. And the Gulf countries, they're watching. They're staying behind the scenes as best they can. But they know, they're in the line of fire. So let's talk about escalation. Will this turn into a ground war? We don't know yet. We hear from our administration that is not going to happen. But we've heard that before in previous administrations and in the last couple of decades. But that's the line everyone wants to avoid, is ground troops. Because costs don't just rise, they explode. And it's measured in not just treasure, but in blood, which is the most precious thing of all, is our young men and women. So look at Iraq. Look at Afghanistan. 20 years, approximately. Trillions of dollars. No clean ending. And for what? Absolutely nothing. That's the kind of scenario nobody wants to repeat. But here's the danger. You don't need a full-scale ground war to create massive economic strain. If the attacks are constant and the defenses are expensive, you can bleed a country slowly. The saying, a death by 1,000 cuts. So what does this mean for us, the United States? Energy markets, oil prices, shipping routes, shipping costs. We're seeing that already. I paid $5.50 a gallon for diesel 2 days ago. We can't sustain that if it keeps going up, especially with the peace talks that are going on right now. Right now at this moment, Vice President J.D. Vance is in Pakistan, where the Pakistanis are trying to broker a peace deal between us, Israel, and Iran. And as far as I can tell, I mean, that could be changing and going on right now as I'm taping this. But there's a pretty wide gap in what either side's going to accept as far as a peace deal. We want nuclear de-escalation. In other words, we don't want them enriching uranium to make to where nuclear weapons can be fashioned out of it, of course. Ballistic missiles that can reach not only Israel but Europe. And the Strait of Hormuz, which controls approximately 20% of the world's oil supply, and that's the reason oil has gone as high as it has in the last days, is because they have basically shut down the Strait of Hormuz. One little narrow gap between the Persian Gulf and the Gulf of Oman is that at its most narrow point is 21 miles wide, and it's pretty shallow. Its most shallow point is like 160 foot deep. That's not a lot. It's not a lot of room there. So that hits everything. So our gas prices, inflation, our supply chains have all been affected. And here at home, it turns into political pressure. You've got election issues. You've got midterms coming up. So the current administration is under a huge amount of stress and pressure to end this in a favorable way in time to save face for the midterm elections. Because we're fickle. We're very short. We have very short memories, especially in America. Very short-sighted. We tend to be, because it's what's happening right now, and it's the economy, stupid, that's happening. We've heard that before. So how long will this go on? We don't know. I know they're trying to end it now, but who knows? Who knows? Now, globally, this reshapes alliances. NATO, is NATO, does it even have any teeth anymore if we pull out of it? I mean, we're actually the driving force, obviously, behind NATO because we fund more of it by far than anyone else, and we are strategically placed around the globe. We've been the world's policeman since the end of World War II, and we've guaranteed Western Europe safety. That's why most of them's militaries are nil compared to ours. So where's that going to end? I mean, in other words, how is it going to turn out? Is NATO going to survive? Is it just going to be weak? Are we going to just pull out of NATO directly, or indirectly are we just going to fall back and kind of leave them on their own? We'll see. What say you? I want to hear your opinions on this. And guys, taking a little break here in the middle, please, 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 whatever platform you're watching this on, please like this episode, subscribe to this channel, and if you really like it, share it with your friends because it absolutely costs you nothing. So again, please do that if you will for me. So who benefits from this? Right now, Russia's probably benefiting from it because of higher energy prices, because the global oil supply, even though the Strait of Hormuz is this little tiny gap on the other side of the world, oil prices are set in the international market. That's why we're affected so much here. We don't have our own prices here and then everybody else has theirs. It doesn't work that way. As long as there's an international market, oil prices go up, they go up everywhere. They go down everywhere. So the Russians are probably enjoying this because it's taking the heat off of them with their Ukraine situation, because it's taken our attention away. So when's the last time you even heard anything on the news about Ukraine? You haven't. But it's still going on. So, the United States, how do we pan out of this? It depends. Strategically, maybe. Economically, we'll see. One thing is certain, instability always creates opportunity for someone. Now, here's my 2 cents. We've spent decades believing that the most advanced military wins. But what we're seeing now is the smartest strategy might not be the most advanced one. It might be the most affordable one. If you can force your enemy into a position where every move they make costs more than yours, you don't have to defeat them outright. You just have to outlast them. And history tells us that's how empires fall. Not always with a final battle, sometimes with the final bill. Something to think about. I hope you all have a great day, and we'll see you next time.